Grandma got run over by a reindeer walking home from our house on the grind. You can say there no nothing in it. I don't know why I turned into a hick for some reason. Welcome to the daily Welcome to the daily grind. I am your host, Luke Hatmaker, and it's Friday. And this week has been an Uncle Buck sandwich. Or a sandwich with two Uncle Buck pieces of bread. I don't know.
I like
we
Uncle Buck sandwich.
That's
Yeah, I
better.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
How are you, brother? It's good to see you.
I'm good. Don't have much to complain about. Glad to be here with you to end the week.
Woo.
Like I said, if you start the week right and end the week right, it's been a pretty good week, right?
I agree. Like you
I'm
can
a
forget the
poet.
rest.
I'm such a poet.
The Uncle Buck, the poet is what we're gonna
The
call you.
poet. Uh,
Well, and if you're ending the week on a Grizzlies game too, that's pretty awesome. A Grizzlies game where you should knock on wood should win. The Grizzlies are returning to action this evening after having a week off.
Finally. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the last game they played was Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah.
Whenever that Wizards game was.
Yeah, whenever the Wizards game was, so it's been a hot minute.
Sunday.
Sunday. There we go. We know what day it is. Leave us alone. The Grizzlies needed the rest. Well, let me. Desmond Bane needed the rest.
Yeah.
I feel like like we've talked about that. This week of rest was good for Desmond Bane.
Right.
And apparently good for Zach Edey because it looks like he's been upgraded to doubtful for tonight's game. I don't know. What do you want to see against this Brooklyn Nets team, a team that beat us earlier this season?
Twice.
Yeah.
It's all down to Desmond Bane. Like, that's the only plus for me for, the long break here. Because typically, if you're rolling, I don't like taking breaks. I know that we've kind of heard a lot that, okay, it's good to take a long break. But, you've won 3 in a row, 9 out of 10. I kind of just would let the good times roll for a little bit. Mainly because I'm kind of scarred. Back to college football season, it's like Ole Miss went through, a bye, riding high, came out and lost, and so it's just like I want to keep the mojo going, and there's no reason to think that it won't. And so Desmond Bane looking good tonight is what I'm looking for the most, and hopefully you get some Edey here within the next week or so.
That's a good point, though. Having the win taken out of your sails is very much a real thing, and losing that momentum that the Grizzlies were on, like we were rolling. And I was talking to Rusty yesterday. It's like you need to win tonight because it's a serious team, a team that is serious about continuing for the championship will come out after a long break and beat the team they're better than.
Yeah. You should. I mean, that's what I say all the time with good teams. It's like good teams beat bad teams every time. And then great teams beat good teams, and so it just keeps kind of scaling from that. You should beat Brooklyn. They've gotten you twice this year. I was listening to Gary Parrish yesterday on Grind City Media. My personal friend, Gary Parrish from the baseball tournament.
From the baseball.
Best friend. And he was like, how sad is it that 25% of the Grizzlies' losses are to Brooklyn? You've got 8 losses on the year. And 2 of them are to Brooklyn.
Math, man. I was like, that's not correct. Oh God.
Yeah. And so, the second game, the first game was I get them backwards. Anyways, in the 2 games, the Grizzlies shot. I did the math here. Let me pull up my calculator because I could do math. I just can't remember math that I did. They shot a combined 16 of 57 from 3.
Yeah.
In the 2 games combined, which was 28%. And so that's kind of really where you win and lose games right now. And so when I look back, I was kind of hoping to see, because it's, we're in game 27 or something like right now. And both of those games were in the first 10 games of the season. So I was trying to remember the details, and I was going back and saying, like, okay, well, who wasn't playing? What's the reason we lost this game? Well, it turns out that Ja and Jaren played in both games, and Desmond played in the first one. So, and they played minutes in like the low 30s. So it's not like there was one of those 25-minute games either.
Yes.
So you just didn't play well. That's what I learned. You didn't play well. You didn't shoot well. This team is playing a lot better right now than they were then. And
Yes.
so I just look to go and dominate. That's what I want to see.
Yep. Well, and I'm going to put this up. Shout out my holy king. I don't think we've ever, or I don't know if it's my holy one word. Shout out. You've not been in here before, but
yeah. He also said this.
I know. I ignored that. Hey,
yeah.
we
will not.
We will not entertain. We will find out. I'm putting it back up here briefly. We will see if Brooklyn is for real or tanking tonight. I think that is a very, very, very good indicator.
They were going to be one of the white flag teams. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I think that their record right now is 10-14. They're currently in the 8th seed in the East, the deplorable Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
And so their offense is pretty good. They're middle of the pack in field goal percentage. They are 4th in the association in 3-point percentage. And so their defense is in the bottom 7 in all defensive categories. So go and hang a big number on them.
Yes, and I think that I shout out Wayno too. I do think they're one of the best coached teams. Their coach is too good to just go out there and tank. You know, like they go out there and they're invested in these guys, and they're invested in this coach, I should say. And I mean, if they can go out and this team has guys. That's something that we're going to talk about in the next segment. Like this Brooklyn team, and my holy king, if you're a Brooklyn fan, he thinks they'll play hard and fall off in the fourth quarter.
That's what bad teams do.
Bad teams do. It's what teams that are trying to tank are doing.
It's very possible this team looks drastically different, and they take an absolute nosedive after some pieces are moved, because they're not going to add anybody, and they're only going to subtract good players. I mean, there's a reason why there's so much trade talk going on around both of these teams. You're looking at total different ends of the spectrum here. The Grizzlies are looking to get better and compete for a championship, and the Nets are thinking about 2 and 3 years down the road. And so they're their ship's passing in the night, really. And so I'm hoping to see. I said on the $2 Sports Show, if you haven't watched it, it came out yesterday at lunch. Go back and watch it. It's on YouTube.
Check it out.
I said I'd love it if, like, middle of the game, you just during a TV timeout or something, like you just see Cam Johnson stand up off the bench and just walk over to the home team's bench and sit down, and it's like, oh, I guess they just made a deal. Like,
they give him a jersey.
yeah, climbing in the Brooklyn GM just worked it out in the owner's box up there, and then you just see like Luke Kennard and Cam Johnson just like passing
swap
each
jerseys
other at the scores table.
It might happen. Let's go ahead. That's a good transition. Let's just go ahead and do it. The trade deadline, well, not the trade deadline. This Saturday, December 15th, is the deadline where a lot of players, I think it's like something 80-plus players are eligible to be traded that sign deals in the offseason.
Is it the players that signed in the offseason can't be traded until?
Yeah, December 15th, I believe. Yep. So this is when trade season is officially beginning in earnest, I would say. Players are starting to talk on interviews where they're like, yeah, I want to go here. Right. Owners are being like, yeah, the door's open. We're open for business. Come get who you want. One of these teams, like the Nets, there's a lot of good basketball players on the Nets. A lot of good basketball players with making a lot of tradable money. There's a lot of tradable contracts on this squad. And I want to play. We played a round of would you make that trade yesterday with Herb Jones, which I would. But there's guys on this Nets team that I think would also make this team better. The first of which is what you said, Cam Johnson. Like, he is, I mean, he's making 22 million.
How many?
Right? 22.5 million right now.
Yeah, I think the contract, wasn't it like, I thought I heard somewhere it was like 4 years and 57 million. No, that was Herb Jones. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I got it right in front of me. I can give it to you right now. His deal is for 4 years, 94.5.
It's a steal.
It's a steal.
Gosh, it's a steal. Yeah. That's for those that are keeping score, that's about the contract Jaren Jackson Jr. is on right now. If you want to talk about like best bang for your buck in the NBA, that Jaren Jackson Jr. contract he signed after 3 years of injuries. I mean, and he's going to make $40 million this offseason. But yeah, Cam Johnson, I think he's the ticket. I mean, he's the one that I think I'm in on the most.
Yeah.
I would call him option A, and then Herb Jones option B. I think that's the reason why the Herb Jones thing is out there. It's just trying to keep multiple options open. I like Cam Jones. I mean, Cam. We're gonna mash them together, make them Cam Jones. No,
Cam Jones sounds like a baseball player.
To me, it's like they're kind of opposites. They both got the great frame for an NBA player.
Yes.
Herb Jones is going to make his impact more on the defensive end, and Cam's going to make it more on the offensive end. And when I'm thinking about what I want with Ja and in this offense and as many open shots as we generate, I lean towards Cam Johnson. That's the one I would rather have. And so the problem with Cam Johnson is listen, he's a 6'8" wing that's a career 40% 3-point shooter. Like the price of the brick is going up.
Yep. Well, and here's what he's making over the next 3 years too.
So you get him for 3 years. Or at least 2.5 before you try to re-sign him. And so I like that. I don't like rentals. I don't like going for it. I don't want Jimmy Butler. I want the guy that comes in here and we know we've got 2 to 3 years with him. He's young. He fits the timeline of our core, and somebody you would re-sign because this window is open officially. I mean, I said it last year, but last year was like you started opening. It's wide open right now, and it's going to go for 5 to 7 years. So I want somebody that sticks with it because I value continuity. And so Cam Johnson is A1 for me. I just worry that the price is going to get too high.
That's okay. So that's the only worry that I have because it seems like he might. I mean, God, I feel like we could go ask anybody that's clicked into their NBA team out there and be like, hey, who's the number one guy that I feel like Cam Johnson is at the top of a lot of people's names, you know? Like,
it's because he's got the best asset you can have in your game is to be a great shooter. That's the reason why Luke Kennard will be valued at the trade deadline because nobody has enough shooting ever.
Which, I mean, and that you look at the Grizzlies books, you can get to 20, how much? You can get to 23 million pretty easy. Like that's.
Yeah, I mean, you can make that money work very easily.
Very easy.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Kennard's making what, 10.5, 11.
10.5.
So if they're wanting expirings, which is typically what tanking teams or rebuilding teams want, is they want expirings and build it themselves. That's when you talk about a Santi and a
Jake
and a Jake LaRavia are both expiring.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, I would have to pour one out to see my boy playing for Brooklyn.
Just send Jake and Z just both up there in their old jerseys and be bad.
Well, yeah, I never felt bad for Zaire, but I would feel bad for Jake.
Man, see, here we go. We got cut straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah,
doesn't want him.
Yeah, Luke Kennard is only an asset to. He's like Buddy Hield light. You know what I'm saying?
Buddy White. Sorry,
but white Buddy Hield.
White Buddy Hield.
It's just he's not a guy you build around, but he's a guy that you add to try to get you over the hump because they are just elite shooters.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say hypothetical, we would make this trade. We would make that trade. Hypothetical. Let's say the Warriors come in here. I know that they need to make a move. Let's say they come in and
Luke Kennard would make a lot of sense for the Warriors.
I'm not talking about Luke Kennard. I'm talking about
I know. You brought up the Warriors.
You're just putting it out there. I'm talking about say they come in and they get Cam Johnson. They're like, we want him, and they kind of screw us. And the Nets are like, hey, I know this was your option A. Here's a trade package of Dorian Finney-Smith and Dennis Schroeder. What do you think of that?
Would you make
that trade?
Depends on what you get, what you get back. I don't really think about contracts. I just want the better players. Like the front office can make the money work, whatever you got to do. But Dennis Schroeder, I feel like both of these guys, Dorian Finney-Smith going back to his days at Dallas, and Schroeder when he's been wherever, Los Angeles,
yeah,
Oklahoma City, wherever.
Atlanta.
They're on the short list of Grizz killers, especially Schroeder probably has the single best game as a Grizzlies opponent this year.
No doubt.
I mean, he was amazing in one of those wins. And I feel like we get an outsized appreciation of Dennis Schroeder based on that game. Because I can be honest with you, nobody in this chat or watching this show has watched outside of My Holy King here, has watched a Brooklyn game this year outside of the ones that the Grizzlies have played in. So
facts.
I'm always kind of scared to be like, oh, he killed us, I want him. Because it could be that that's just the best game. Now, I did look up numbers. Dorian Finney-Smith is shooting a really good percentage from three this year. And so I get it, but it's not the peak. When we're talking about what takes you over the hump, I don't think Dorian Finney-Smith and Dennis Schroeder are going to be the pieces. It's like, okay, now we're ready. Like, they just seem like, some more role players in a team full of really good role players.
Yep. Well, and Dorian Finney-Smith, he is, if my mouse will work, he is making, well, not that one. Dang it, Wayno, you messed my thing up. He's making 14. He does have a player option for $13 million. So it's like I said, you don't look at contracts because the Grizzlies are in an excellent position right now where they can make a lot of stuff work. They're not hard kept by any of the aprons. They've got the contracts. They can do a lot. Right. I love your point. It
could be a rental.
Yes. And Schroeder is a $13 million expiring. That is
fine. I mean, that consolidates your team after next season.
Yep.
It consolidates some of your depth after next season. But I want to use my depth to get players that go forward. And so when we talk about Herb Jones and we talk about Schroeder and DFS and some other folks, like that's why I consider them options B, C, D, and not option A, which would be, hey, this guy can start for me in a playoff game.
Yep. I think the best, this is those dudes that we're talking about, DFS and Schroeder, there aren't upgrades for what we would have to give up.
Yeah.
And that's the point. And why would you add one thing that I'm really, really about this season is I don't want to bring more people. I don't want more depth right now. I really don't, because we got one of the best benches, if not the best in the league. And I don't want to add to that concoction and make things hard.
Right. You know? And that's kind of what DG said here is kind of the exact reason why I'm like, I don't know, because as Grizzlies fans, we're in the weeds. We love these teams. We know we love these guys. We feel like we know these guys. We watch every single game. And so you kind of feel a connection. And I try not to put too much, I try to set that aside when we get to this time of year and try to think about what's best. But it's like Scottie Pippen Jr. is on an amazing contract and he's playing really well.
Really good.
Are you going to ship him out for a year or two of Schroeder, or a year of Schroeder? Are you going to give him the minutes over Scottie Pippen Jr.? What does that do with your depth? And I don't know what you've got to give up, but for those two guys, I'm not willing to give up anybody that's not expiring. You know, It's just, I said this with Rusty on the $2 Sports Show. Like, they're the big name that New Orleans would want back in a Herb Jones deal is Santi Aldama. And are we sure we want to make that trade? I mean, Santi's in a contract year and he's playing great in this offense. And I know Herb Jones is, what he is, but is it a vast upgrade?
Wayno thinks so. With and lots of exclamations, but my thing is, I Wayno wants to chip in. I think that's the Grizzlies are in a very interesting situation right now. Is why do you really? Wayno said it earlier. He wouldn't be surprised if we sit tight until the next draft that rolls around. And if the boat doesn't appear to need to be rocked, then why would you rock it? And we haven't even talked about Gigi Jackson and Vince Williams Jr. are coming back soon.
Yeah, and that's the other part. When you talk about losing your depth, I don't know that I'm ready to put folks above them right now. Herb Jones and Vince Williams would clash.
Yep, very similar players.
And Herb Jones and Gigi may clash. I mean, they kind of play the same position. So how do you do that? And if the goal is to play 11, 10 to 11, 9 to 11 dudes, like all three of them won't play.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so I don't really know what you do here. And so I'm kind of the worst thing, and the thing that would probably melt down the Grizzlies fans this season, and I don't know if it's this season how it started, or maybe that's just where we're at right now, but everybody's so emotional and in their feelings about literally every single thing that happens with this team.
Yeah, God.
Just brace yourselves for the possibility that once again Zach Kleiman does nothing at the trade deadline. And I'm going to tell you right now that that's not the worst outcome that you can. A bad trade is much, much worse than doing nothing.
Yep. I mean, look at the Timberwolves.
Oh my God. I mean, and who would have saw that coming? If there's always players that go back and forth in a trade. Always side with the team that gets the better player. It's not that hard.
Yep.
Julius Randle has been a losing basketball player for years. And I'm not a Cat fan either.
Yes.
He's kind of a losing basketball player. But Cat is also more capable of playing in a system. And he has been absolutely amazing as just a piece of that puzzle. Cat's not a superstar. And he doesn't want to be a superstar.
No.
Julius Randle is not a superstar, and he thinks he is.
Yep.
He's got the Dylan Brooks in him.
Oh, God. Yep. And I didn't want to talk about Dylan Brooks today, so you ruined that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, I'm glad you talked about, it was a minute ago, but like the Grizzlies have done an excellent job about building out this depth with these wonderful contracts. You mentioned Vince, you mentioned Gigi, we got Scotty, we got Jay Huff, we got Jalen Wells. These guys are on excellent contracts. And we know right here, we might have the best depth in the NBA, might actually need a tight playoff series. And why would you've done such an excellent job of building that depth really, really responsibly and smart and like forward thinking, cheap. Yeah. Why would you be like, screw it, and then just try something else right now? Yeah. Maybe next offseason, but right now, why would you do that?
I think that's the catch-22 that they're kind of stuck in, and you've got to have a pretty obvious upgrade to make a move. But the reason why you sacrifice your depth is to get a number 4. You got your big 3, and you go get your 4th guy, or you get your guy that's locked in for
6th man of the year.
Yeah, amazing. You go get that guy. You sacrifice your depth for that guy every time. And so you've just got to decide if that guy's worth it. And I'm very partial to our cheap contracts. I feel like we do a great job, and Zach Kleiman and Taylor Jenkins and the developmental staff deserve a ton of credit for what they do with guys like Santi and Jay Huff and Vince Williams and Gigi Jackson Jr. and Scotty
LaRavia,
all making peanuts. Yep. Yeah, and LaRavia, they didn't sign LaRavia, and so they've shown a little shrewdness with their young guys as well. So I think the only reason you make a trade is you've got an obvious upgrade to a guy that's you can put in your top 6 on a playoff team. The thing with depth and all these cheap guys we're talking about, with the exception of Vince and Gigi, is in a playoff series, they probably don't play. And so everything is going to be judged on the measuring stick of the playoffs this year and going forward. Depth is great in the regular season but it's only applicable in the postseason when you are dealing with injuries. Mm-hmm. And the truth of the matter is, if John, Dez, or Jared get hurt in the playoffs, we're done. We've seen it, Yeah.
Yes.
So depth doesn't make as big of a difference at that point.
Yeah. Daniel Greer and I have talked about this for a long time. Trades only need to be made if you are upgrading 1 through 7. If you can make one of those top 7 guys better, because that's who's playing in a playoff series, that's when you make a trade.
Absolutely right.
And like we said, Grizzlies might just be sitting tight, and that's okay. So we would make one of these trades, maybe not the other one. We'll see. We'll see if the Grizzlies.
Yeah, they've shown the desire to be aggressive, and for one reason or another, the Mikal Bridges trade was not accepted when you offered 4 or 5 first-round picks for him.
Yep.
And they just traded him in the offseason. And so they've shown the desire, at least, to be aggressive, we'll just see if I think Cam Johnson's the guy that you be aggressive for. And anyone after that, it's just got to make a lot of sense.
Yep. Well said, sir. We're going to take a quick break. We talked more about the Nets today than I think even the Nets podcast are doing right now. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to talk about the weekend because the weekend's finally here. And I'm excited because I'm doing something pretty fun. Surprise. That's foreshadowing, people. Right after this break.
I think Zach Edey played well. He got his fouls in. He got him in for sure. But we saw some flashes of really what he can do. Whether that's setting screens or just blocking shots or just making guys change their mind about shots or just affecting the quality of shots that guys were getting in the game. We saw that a lot. They gotta use him though, man. They gotta be able to find him a little bit.
I was about to say they especially the whole first quarter. It was like because I think that lob that y'all had him, that was his first points of the game. So it was like the whole first quarter, I did peep that. It was like I see everybody else attempting 5+ shots.
Right.
Y'all got to find a way to give Zach Edey something like at some point. Everything was running well last night, right? The offense was flowing well. It's gonna come a stretch of time where they're gonna be stagnant, and at that time, that's when I expect them. Okay, hey, let's run a post play to Zach Edey.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
This is a question I don't know if you've ever been asked. Was there anyone you ever wanted to dunk on? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm glad you haven't getting a big kick out of that one. I'm glad you've been waiting all day for that. Waiting all day to get that little jokey joke in. Oh, you got a joke. But yeah, I always wanted to dunk in the game. That's what I wanted to do. And it didn't have to be on anybody. I wanted it to be off of a missed shot, like on an offensive rebound, so that everyone's around or in the vicinity when it happened.
Did you ever dunk in practice and get overly excited?
Yes. and everybody be like, well, are you going to do it in a game? And I'm like, no.
Tune in to the Night Court Podcast with your hosts, Rob Fisher and Brevin Knight, on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I was trying to do like an NPR thing. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. You can catch that show, the Night Court Podcast, every Wednesday. You can also catch the Anthony Sane Show. I can't do that. That's awful. You can catch the Anthony Sane Show. That's not my energy. Yeah, we don't do that around here. You catch the Anthony Sane Show every Wednesday and Friday. So that will be today at noon. $2 Sports Show. They go live now. It's awesome. They go every Tuesday, Thursday at noon during your lunch hour. Man, we got stuff for your lunch every day of the week. Got no bluffing Monday. Today's a weekday night. Grizz 901 Live will be back. They are every weekday night after those games that are during the weekday. I got to figure out a better way to say that. And then Grizz After Dark typically happens after that. And then our show, Monday through Fridays, 7:30. We got a whole mess of shows and all this. It's all at Bluff City Media.co. That's the new song. We're trying stuff today. It's Friday.
Jingle at the end of the
PSA. I don't know. We have fun here. But yeah, catch all that. We got a lot of stuff, guys. We're doing a lot over there, and I'm sure you can find something. If you don't like Grizzlies content, there's other stuff. But back to our show. On this show, on Fridays, we talk about the weekend because everyone has weekends. It might not be Saturday and Sunday, but everybody's got at least some days off. And I'm happy to go because I'm actually really excited. Once again, I am by myself. But I got the dogs. I got the dogs this time. She didn't take the dogs. So it's me and 2 dogs and 2 cats. And I don't know what to do with my hands. And it's great. But on Sunday, my folks, my mom, my stepdad, and my brother and his wife, they're coming into town. He's a Bengals fan. They're going to the Titans-Bengals game. And I was able to get a ticket. So
there you go.
I love going to an NFL game where I don't have a dog in the fight. You know, like I'm a Bears fan. So I can go and just like look at the scores on my phone and not care, which is great because Titans fans Titans, sorry, if there's any Titans fans watching, when the
They
team
know the
sucks,
truth.
they're
Yeah.
not great.
Yeah.
And Will Levis is not great. But
No.
I just fun to go to a sports game. It's probably going to be cold. I love football out in the cold. I'm just excited. I'm excited to go to a game.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the elements when it comes to
Yes.
outdoor events. I feel like
Yes.
it makes it more memorable. If you win, I guess it makes it more memorable. For instance, like my best memories as a kid, one of my best memories is Ole Miss beat Alabama in 03, I guess, Eli's senior year.
Yeah.
And at Ole Miss, and it was pouring the whole time. And I remember that game more than any other game. And I remember it because of the elements that we were sitting in. I remember sitting through a 10-degree game in Vaught Hemingway Stadium. You remember it because of the elements
Yep.
a lot of times. I had a bunch of friends who went to the Ole Miss Georgia game in Oxford this year, and it rained the whole time. They said it added to it. But if you lose, it's like, oh, now I walk back in wet shoes, But
your jeans
when
are
you
wet.
win,
You're like,
yeah. So that's fun. I'm glad you're getting to do that with your family. Listen, I hope that they're not like diehard. You're not going to any diehard Titans because that would be just. I don't know why you'd pay for tickets. If I'm being honest with you.
I didn't. They were gifted. My
Here's
brother's a
$10
diehard.
and a ticket. How
He's
many
a
you want?
diehard Bengals fan, so he's had a
Huh.
rough season. So I think we're all just going to be kind of sad, because Bengals
Yeah.
fan, Bears fan, Titans fans, we're all just happy to be there.
Oh yeah, you're just happy to be alive at this point. You woke up
100%.
this morning. It was like, well,
Thank God.
praise for the football season. I didn't know if I was going to make it through the night.
Look, man, I'm still the happiest moment of my life is still the 1985 Super Bowl the Bears won, and I wasn't even alive yet.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Well, my Saints did get a Super Bowl after in 09, which was great, but then they're trash. They're no fun at all. They're the combination of really bad and no fun at all to watch. I wish they at least kept Jameis Winston so I could watch Jameis.
Yeah, Jameis is
Because
fun.
he's an
Guy in the
electric
NFL.
guy,
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah. Weekend outlook. So I've got a big weekend.
Hell yeah.
My aunt and my cousins, and so we're all grown now, and so we're all kind of descending in on my parents' house this weekend.
Ooh. Yes.
And they're from East Tennessee up around in Maryville,
Yeah, it's my
right
neck of
outside
the woods.
Knoxville. It's where they live. And my cousin is in dentistry school. Is that what you call it? Med school for dentists?
Dental school.
Dental school. Yeah. Anyways, he's going to be a doctor, but not like the kind that can help in an emergency. Like Rusty. Anybody know a doctor? He's not going to be able to stand up, But
Christian, don't look for him.
I'm sorry. If it's a tooth, I can help, but if not, and Rusty's like, just stretch,
I need a real doctor.
None of them can deliver a baby. But he's in dental school at UT Memphis.
Oh, heck yeah.
And so we're all just kind of coming into Corinth, Mississippi this weekend and just gonna hang out all weekend. And so looking forward to that.
That's awesome, man. I love especially when people are grown, like when you and your cousins and your siblings are grown and you hang out.
I know.
It's so fun. It's weird.
Yeah. Like my other side of the family, my mom's side, we all grew up on the same street, literally, and we grew up my grandpa just gave us all little plots of land on the cattle farm, and we all just grew up on the farm
yes,
Clampets, and so when we get together, I mean it's no holds barred. I mean we have a real good country time, you know what I'm saying? And these people come in, we're a little bit more, we have a little bit more of a civilized time. We'll play a little Texas Hold'em or maybe go play golf in the morning or something. But when the rednecks get together, we're shooting something.
Yep. There's a barrel placed up outside with bullet holes in it for some reason.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Me and my family, we might come down to Corinth and say hi this week.
Please. There is always an open door policy if I'm there. So you don't even show up. Just say drop a pin, and then I'll just drop your pin. You get there when you get there.
Me and the 2 dogs and the 2 cats will be on leashes. I'll be like, "Oh, hello, Uncle Buck." I wouldn't do that to you. That's gonna do it for our show today. Go see Uncle Buck this weekend if you're in Corinth. You said it, open door policy. Go
Yeah.
Grizzlies tonight. Thanks for everybody that hung out. We had I know you're already gone, my holy king, but thank you for coming in. Thank you, everybody else. DG, Allen, Wayno, I love you guys. Thank you for spending your morning with us, making the day good.
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody have a good day at work today. If you're off work, have a good day at home. If I can leave you with any two things, just these two little things, remember just to be a little weird, just a little bit, and remember to smile like that. See you guys. Have a good day.